Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the 412 Double Play podcast. I apologize for missing last week. Bunch of stuff came up, but we are back this week ready to talk some Bucks baseball, a little sunburn from the Saturday game. I am, as always, your host, Michael Castriano, joined by my co-host and Double Play partner, Ed Wassel. Ed, a week late, but how was your Father's Day?
It was good. How about yours?
It was hectic. So, yeah, I tweeted this out, but I don't know where the listeners come from. So my kid Sawyer, who does the outro, has been in summer camp, and that has completely messed up his sleep schedule because now he's taking naps after camp. And so he stays up super late. And then my wife was working last weekend, so she wasn't. It just ended up being super late, and then I was just run down, so I didn't have the energy for it.
I fell.
And I think
I fell asleep.
You fell asleep, yeah. So just one of those days. So, but I was at the game yesterday, Saturday, because you guys aren't listening to this on Sunday, for the City Connect weekend, the McCutcheon bobblehead giveaway. If you guys are watching on the video, beautiful bobblehead. I assume I haven't taken it out of the box yet because 5-hour drive out yesterday, 5-hour drive back after sitting in the 95 plus degree sun for 3 hours. So, fun game. O'Neill Cruz hit a towering home run over my head because I was getting ice cream in right field at the time. Kutch hit his 50th triple. We'll talk about that later. And got to see a bunch of people like I've met before, like Josh from Bridge of October, but Jim Stam from Pirates Fan Forum, he was there, was able to meet him for the first time. The NS9 guys, they had their tailgate party before the game. Wasn't able to get to that. Slept on the south side to get myself my Skeens shirt, jersey of sorts. Also wearing that if you're watching the video. And but yeah, I got to see them during the game. So just really cool getting to see and talk to people. I didn't want to make it a big thing because just came in with my wife. Just wanted to do that day trip and try to enjoy the game and that heat. it was a lot. But it was fun to get in for the game and glad they were able to get the win. Talk about that in a second. But first, let's catch up on the transactions. I already wrote this last week, so I'm going to run through it anyway. So catching up, transaction log 2 weeks ago, Monday, the 10th. Pirates DFA'd Ben Heller, added infielder Nico Goodrum, claiming him off waivers from the Angels. DFA'd Jose Hernandez, because I want to talk about that. They claimed right-handed reliever Dennis Santana off waivers from the Yankees. Ryder Ryan recalled ahead of the Cardinals series. He was sent down to make room for Santana ahead of that third game. Heller cleared waivers. He was outrighted to Indy. But Jose Hernandez ended up being traded to the Dodgers for cash considerations. We're going to be adding up all those cash considerations by the end of the year. Of course, the Dodgers, same team from which the Pirates originally nabbed him via the Rule 5 draft a few years ago. Following the Card series, Hunter Stratton, placed on the 15-day IL, reported right shoulder tightness. Josh Fleming added to the roster to take his place. Goodrum DFA'd once again. Henry Davis left the game Friday of the Rockies series with concussion symptoms, eventually placed on the 7-day IL with Jason DeLay returning to the club. And then last Monday, Goodrum clears waivers. He was declined his option. He became a free agent. I don't know where he is right now. Happy trails for the 4 minutes that he was in the Pirate system. Dalton Jeffries recalled with Southpaw Justin Brule, headed back to Indy. Alika Williams activated from the IL option to Indy. He's been doing pretty well the past week there. And then today it was announced that David Bednar would hit the 15-day IL retroactive to June 20th with a reported left oblique strain. And Brule returned to the club to take his spot on the roster. Additionally, going to talk about the other stuff, but additionally, we did have some guys starting rehab stints. Joey Bart and G1 Bay both head to Indy. Martin Perez went 5 innings in his rehab stint there Saturday night. He will hopefully be rejoining the club in the next week or two. Ryan Barucki is headed to Indy for rehab. He hopes to be back with the Pirates before the All-Star break. Marco Gonzalez, bullpen sessions, looking to make a rehab start soon. Mike Burrows, rehab start with the FCL Pirates. Didn't go great, but you're not looking at results there as he's working his way back from Tommy John surgery last year. whole bunch going on there. Because we've got 2 weeks of transactions to run through, Jose Hernandez, like, there has to be something else that happened behind the scenes because his stats at the beginning of the season weren't great, like with Indy, but they were fine with the Pirates. They were fine outside of like a few weeks in Indy. Do you think that they're giving up on this kid that they've invested a bit into? They're giving up on him too early? Or do you think left-handed relief pitchers aren't as high priority maybe as they used to be?
I definitely don't think they're not as high priority as they used to be. I know when the move first happened, I texted you, and you thought there was something like an underlying story that maybe isn't out yet.
Yeah.
Because I thought the same thing. I'm like, he wasn't performing that poorly that he should have been DFA'd. But
Especially if the Dodgers see value in someone, it's like when the Rays see value in someone. You maybe messed up. But hopefully things work out for him there. Bednar, I was obviously at the game on Saturday. Ninth inning rolls around. Expect to hear, oh mama. All of a sudden, I just see Aroldis Chapman walking out from center field. I'm like, oh, well, he's confused. Turns out that Bednar had been expressing some discomfort before the game. Shelton knew the whole time that he was not going to be available. And yeah, 15-day IL. I don't know why it's 15-day for pitchers and 10-day for position players. I think whatever. So
yeah, I don't know.
it was backdated to the 20th, but the earliest he can come off is July 5th? Something like that. So it's going to be a while before we see him as he works to overcome that. An oblique strain is not something that you can take lightly, especially as a power pitcher like Bednar is. And because that back end of the bullpen has been so pivotal for securing successful finishes. I mean, I'm going to talk about the past couple games and some of the games, they were pretty essential for closing that out. How do you foresee this changing the back end of the bullpen? Like, as far as what do you think the closer becomes, if it's either a committee or if one of the back end guys takes over? And then how does the 7-8 situation play out in your mind?
I mean, obviously Chapman has the most experience as a closer, so potentially he takes over that role until Bednar's healthy. Wouldn't be really thrilled about that, but I don't know if as good as Holderman is in the eighth inning, I don't know how well he would perform in the ninth. It seemed like he didn't do that well whenever he had the opportunity before.
So you're not wrong. Somebody posted today, and I don't remember who it was because I'd have to scurry to find it. But this year he's 0 for 2 in save opportunities and 2 for 8 in his career. He only has 2 career saves and 8 opportunities. So he hasn't done well in those positions, whereas Chapman, I believe, is the active saves leader. Like, he's got over 300 or something.
He's got a lot.
He's pretty experienced in that area. In my mind, I think that they do kind of use it how they did in the Saturday game, in that they look at matchups and they say, okay, if there's a bunch of lefties coming up, maybe we go with Chapman. If there's a bunch of righties coming up, we go with Holderman. And then the other guy will get the other inning. Like, however they want to approach that. They feel more confident with one of them. Or if Kyle Nicholas, he looked really good today, maybe he plays into it. Carmen Majinski was a 7th inning guy last year. If they aren't going to have to do any bullpen games, which it looks like we've got at least one more, possibly they could kind of shift him back to that role. But let's go ahead and talk about, I don't know if there's anyone else in the discussions that I really want to get into. Hopefully the Davis concussion isn't anything serious. I think I heard today that he is going to make at least one rehab start. down in Indy. They're going to get him kind of going down there, and that may be just kind of a try to get him to hit the ground running before he rejoins the major league team, because he's been struggling.
I didn't see what play caused the concussion.
It was some point during the Friday Colorado game. I'm not sure if there was like anything specific, if it was a foul ball or what exactly happened. I'd have to go back and rewatch the clips, because he came out in like the 4th inning. So it must have been pretty early on in the game. But looking at this past week of games, Holman starting off against the Reds, and pitching in that series reigned supreme. Game 1, Paul Skeens bested Red starter Connor Spires, tossing 6 innings of 1-run ball, 6 hits, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. Looked a little shaky in the first inning. Reds hitters were all over his fastball. Pivots to the splinker more, just dominated from there. Bucks scored 4 early runs on Spires, and the 3-headed monster I mentioned in the back of the pen shut it down for the 4-1 win. Second game, Bailey Falter up against former Pirates draft pick Nick Lodolo, but Lodolo locked in, providing 7 innings, 4-hit ball. He allowed a solo home run to Hayes in the 7th. Falter, he really only made a few mistake pitches. One of them, unfortunately, was a middle fastball in the 5th to Santiago Espinal. Ended up being a 2-run blast to left. That was the deciding factor in the game. A 2-1 loss. And then final game, Mitch Keller going against Hunter Green. Green went 6.1 shutout innings, 2 hits, no walks, 9 strikeouts. Keller pretty much matched him. 7 innings, 2 hits, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Was scoreless in the bottom of the 8th, but our June slugger, Brian Reynolds, his name's going to keep coming up here, hit a solo home run to break the tie, secured a 1-0 victory and series win. Then this weekend, welcoming the Tampa Bay Rays for the City Connect Series. Friday was another bullpen game. Had been successful the first few times. Team rolled the dice and their luck ran out. Karma Majinski gave up a run in 1.2 innings. Luis Ortiz came on, struggled 4 innings, 10 hits, 6 runs with a walk and 3 strikeouts. Josh Fleming came in, got 1 out, and then Dalton Jeffries, final 3 innings, 3 runs off 3 hits. Just a rough game overall. Bucks dropped the opener 10-3. Saturday had Jared Jones on the bump against Zach Eflin. He was looking to rebound from a few poor starts lately. First inning looked like he was in trouble. He hit 2 batters, including hitting Ahmed Rosario in the head. Looked really rough at the time. We've since learned that he was okay. Did need some stitches, but not anything too serious. He was actually active for the game today. Also had a wild pitch in that first inning. Just looked really out of it. Allowed a run in off a fielder's choice in the first, and he just locked back in from there. 7 total innings, 3 hits, 2 runs, 8 strikeouts on the game. O'Neill Cruz blasted that home run, hitting the river on the fly. 6th time in PNC Park history that's happened. 24 years, 6 times it's happened. Really exciting that I was there for that. And as I mentioned before, Kutch got that 50th career triple. Going to talk about that more in a second. But the team came together, got that 4-3 win on a scorching Saturday afternoon. And then Sunday, Skeens, he gives up that first pitch home run to Yandy Diaz. It just clanged off the right field foul pole. A couple more feet, it would have been a foul ball. No harm, no foul. Well, just foul. And then he went right to work. 7 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 8 strikeouts, just the 1 run allowed. His final 98th pitch of the game, he hit 101.5, his hardest pitch of the game. ERA down to 2.14 on the season. The team usually backs him up with some offense. They just struggle to get much going. Reynolds got another solo home run in the 4th inning, and that was it. Holderman, we mentioned before, he struggled today, came on in the 8th. A walk and 3 singles. It just kept squirting through and led to 2 runs scoring an eventual 3-1 Rays win. Disappointing. Certainly something that we felt like we could have won the series today with Skeens on the mound. But this offense is just really struggling. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But we talked at the beginning of the season about Kutch's Hall of Fame case. And getting that 50th triple is just another kind of like benchmark. And it was the first triple he's had since like April 2021. So it's been a while since he's gotten one of those. He becomes the 12th player in MLB history to record 400 doubles, 300 home runs, 200 stolen bases, and 50 triples in his career. And everyone else on that list is either a Hall of Famer or probably should be. Carlos Beltran, Barry Bonds, Larry Walker, George Brett, Hank Aaron, Willie Mays.
Good
Does
company to
hitting
have.
these, it's good company. Does hitting these round numbers, even though, you got to keep adding on. He might have another season after this one. You hope. Does hitting these round numbers solidify his case, even though maybe he's still a borderline, solidify his case that he should be in that Hall of Fame discussion in a couple of years?
I mean, I already thought he should be in that discussion. I think, like you mentioned, that we talked about that a little bit earlier in the season. But I mean, obviously, it's going to help with the writers. They're the ones that typically put them in. So any little bit is going to help his case.
Yeah. And he's been doing really well. Didn't start in the game today. It's just really frustrating. Only 3 hits. 2 of them were by Reynolds. But the pitching's been really great. Falter's been doing well, and he's our 4th guy. He's our number 4, and he's got a sub-4 ERA. I feel like back in that playoff run, everybody was in like the 4+ range, just because run environment was the worst back then. So it would have been nice to win that middle game against Lodolo. He's just really good. Today against Savale, he's not as good. They should have gotten more than 1 run at some point. They should have. There was a lot of like first pitch swinging against, like, a new pitcher would come in and Olivares would go and swing first pitch, or Triolo would be up there and it would be a down and away, like, breaking ball, and he would try to pull it and roll it over. Like, one of the times it was for a double play, maybe twice. And it's just frustrating. They can't kind of connect things together. Were there any big takeaways for you from this past week? Good or bad?
I still hate the Rays because we can't trade with them because we always lose that. And apparently they have our number with their analytical department. So they always just find a way.
They do. That's just their thing.
It's like, oh, here's this pitcher with a 9.8 ERA. He's going to come throw 6 shutout innings against you guys.
I don't know. All right, well, let's go check down on the farm. Indianapolis hosting the Iowa Cubs. All 4 teams in the minors did really well this week. Starting with Indy, they won 4 of 6 behind continued strong performances. Matt Frazier, Matt Gorski, Andres Alvarez, they combined for 17 hits this week. Indianapolis moves to 33-40 on the season, starting to kind of build back up from that slow start. Altoona at the Bowie Bay Sox. They won 5 of 6, had won 5 straight until today. 5, including today. They lost the first one of the series. Bubba Chandler had 7 scoreless innings in his start, 2 hits, 1 walk, 10 strikeouts, while newly promoted Charles McAdoo hit 2 home runs with a double in his first 2 games with the Curve, which moves to 29-40 record. McAdoo promoted shortly after Greensboro secured their first half Sally League title, guaranteeing playoffs for the end of the year. They were hosting the Hudson Valley Renegades last week. They won 5 of 6, dropping the game today, Sunday. Keep chugging along. Lonnie White, strong week, 417 batting average, 1.063 OPS. Like to see that he's hitting for average. That's been an issue. It's been mostly power. He's getting both right now. Patrick Riley, Wilbur Dotel, and Dominic Parachi in 3 starts this week. 6 shutout frames each. Really interesting to see. Allowing a combined 7 hits, 4 walks, and 24 strikeouts in those 3 outings. Grasshoppers are currently 41-27, and I believe the best team in their league. Bradenton hosting the Lakeland Flying Tigers. They split their 6-game series. Javier Rivas, I've mentioned him before. He went 7 for 23, 2 doubles and a home run, while Antoine Kelly pitched 5.2 clean innings in his start this week. 4 hits, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts. The Marauders moved to 31-38 on the year. lot of stuff kind of going on. We're seeing Bubba Chandler. He's having more good starts than bad starts. He kind of was a bit shaky earlier on in the year. I didn't mention Tamar Johnson. I think he's been kind of settling down the past month or so. He's hitting, I think, like 280, something like that. Still hitting for power, still getting on base. Is there any specific prospect that you, and we haven't talked prospects really in a while, any specific prospect who you worry about, like has the most to prove this year, whether I've mentioned them right now or not?
Wasn't prepared for that question.
Like Anthony Solomito, I feel like he's
I
fallen
was
off
going to say,
a
like,
bit.
what's been going on with Solomito? That's kind of who I was going to go with there.
He's been struggling. You see like Braxton Ashcraft getting promoted. He's going above Solomito. Chandler, he was promoted at the end of last season. He's kind of accelerated in that, and Solomito's had a lot of at least early season struggles. So little concerning to see on that. It's stuff I think of in the moment. I can't always prepare you for these kinds of questions. But let me just look at his stats quick because I know he's not having a great season. 33 innings. He has a 6.27 ERA. He's also given up a bunch of home runs, which, as we recall, he did not do a lot of in his previous couple years. Gave up 2 home runs before getting up to Double-A, and he's given up 6 last year and 6 this year. In a little bit, 51.2 innings last year, 33 innings this year. He's just getting hit around. You would think in Double-A in Altoona, he'd be giving up less home runs. Definitely something that's concerning. He's also walking a lot more batters. Yeah, he's probably starting to see a bit of a fall off there. Hopefully he turns things around. I think that there are a lot of prospects that are interesting. Offensively, Matt Frazier, right-handed hitting outfielder. Gorski, right-handed hitting outfielder. Andres Alvarez, right-handed hitting super utility player. I'm kind of going to just use this to pivot into our next segment, which is talking about how our offensive woes are persisting, because today's affair was more an indication of this pervasive problem. Pirates offense continues to be woefully underperforming. As of this morning, Sunday morning, they rank 25th in runs scored, 26th in batting average, 27th in WRC plus, and 28th in OPS. The team needs a boost, and the internal options likely are not sufficient for addressing what ails this team. Special this week is concerning how to fix those issues. Kind of just open discussion. With the trade deadline still over a month away, there's not really enough time for us to be indecisive about making these kinds of decisions. They'll need to pull the trigger eventually to get more production from this offense, from this team. The sooner they do that, the better. Ed, we talked about this via text. Obviously, that's outside of this program, I guess you could call it. The biggest need for this team right now, what would you say it is?
Well, we were discussing left-handed hitting outfielders.
And I think that's probably the biggest issue. And that's not to say that they're not going to pursue bullpen piece or pieces at the deadline or like a bench piece. Right now, the only left-handed hitting outfielder on the active roster, is Jack Sawinski. And he's hitting like 180. And then you got Palacios in AAA. And he's certainly not pushing for a spot. I haven't seen him at the top of any like offensive categories at Indy, so he may have had like his one and done year with Pittsburgh.
Yeah, he was just like a pinch hitting specialist.
The wild card hunt is very clustered. Right now, there's really only 5 teams in both leagues that are out of it. You've got the Rockies, the White Sox, the A's, the Angels,
the Marlins,
and the Marlins. Oh, I guess I think those are the 5 teams. Yeah, I'd say the Angels are out of it. Okay. Because all of those teams are 10 or more teams 10 or more games out of the final wildcard spot. So it seems pretty difficult for them to claw back unless they make significant changes. Now, there's other teams that I think could continue to fall. The Blue Jays, as of right now, 6.5 games out. The Tigers, 5.5 games back. The Mets have recently been good, but I could see them selling because they've got a lot of pieces that are on expiring contracts and they're not really built to have a deep run. But let's talk about some potential players who could fit left-handed hitting outfielders and who you want the team to pursue.
Well, I've got a list of 3. Do you want to go just one at a time?
Yeah,
And then do you
ahead.
want to go
Give me
maybe least likely to be able to trade for, and then go down to the most likely?
I mean, whatever order you want to go in. You just give me a name and let's discuss this guy.
All right, let's start off
Or
with
girl,
Riley
if we're going to
Green.
be like really open-minded here. All right, go ahead.
Did you hear me?
Oh. No. Who'd you say?
I said, let's start off with Riley Green.
Riley Green. So here's the thing. Riley Green has been on my fantasy baseball team all season. And I've been so like on board with him. And he hit a home run earlier today. So I'm like, all right, yeah, no, I'm 100% all in talking about Riley Green. As of right now, batting 257, 352, 486. He's got 14 home runs, which I believe leads the Tigers, plus defense, really good speed. Like there's a lot to like with Riley Green. The downside is he's 23 and the Tigers have had very few successes with draft and development, because you see Torkelson, like he hit 31 home runs last year, something like that, but now he's back in the minors. Casey Mize is perpetually injured. Scooble's great. Tarek Scooble is awesome, but as far as like position players, they pretty much just have Riley Green as a success.
Yeah, he definitely would not be cheap to acquire.
That would be great if they were able to somehow make that happen. Former first-round pick in the 2019 draft out of high school, hits in the middle of that lineup, and yeah, he's pre-arbitration. He's not going to be ARB eligible for another 2 years, 2026. He's under team control until 2029.
Yeah, I mean, it
That's
really
a
depends
valuable piece.
It depends on where the Tigers feel like they are in their rebuild. I mean, if they think they're still a few years out, then maybe they'd be willing to move them.
That'd be something. I mean, honestly, I love that. He also walks at a really high rate, and his strikeouts are like a little elevated, but he's 23, so it's not that big. I think it's only like his second big league season. Maybe he came up in 2022, his second full big league season. But yeah, 12.5% walk rate, 26.3% strikeout rate. You'll take that. You'll take that with the kind of power and ability that he provides for you. So, who else do you want to talk about?
Another guy on my list is JJ Bleday.
Yep.
Now, he's another younger player, but the A's have been willing to move their younger players in the past. So,
and he's not quite as young. He's 26. So he was picked. He was picked one pick before Riley Green. I didn't even know this. He was 4th overall in the 2019 draft, and Green was 5th. But he was signed out of college. So, all right. So talk about. Did you want to talk about like pros and cons of Bleday?
I don't really have that stuff written down.
All right, let me pull that stuff up. So he is similar to Riley Green, left-handed hitter, and plays center field. He's got 2.1 F/WAR as of now through 79 games. Extrapolate over a full season, you've got like a 4 WAR outfielder. like you said, that's going to be an expensive contract to buy out, even with the A's, who they're notoriously just trying to unload all their pieces. But yeah, he was part of the Jesus Luzardo trade and AJ Puck with the Marlins. So he came over with that. 256, 341, 473 slash line. His WRC plus 134. I mean, I don't think anybody on the Pirates outside of Reynolds is 134 right now. Maybe Kutch, but those are two of the better hitting outfielders in baseball right now. Like you mentioned, he's young. He's also pre-arb. He's also got a ton of contract left and team control. I think it'll be 2028 that he'd be available. But yeah, another one also like pretty good defensively. In similar vein as Riley Green. So those would be interesting ones. Okay, and you said you got one more?
I've got one more, and this is who I think would be the highest likelihood to make it happen, and that's Jazz Chisholm.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Juan Soto. Okay, so Jazz Chisholm. So he's 26, so he's kind of also in that like younger age range, but it feels like he's been around for a while because international. He's from the Bahamas originally. Was an international signing back in what year was that? Probably 2016 or 2017. Yeah, his stats aren't as gaudy. 264, 330, 440, triple slash, 1.5 F4, WRC plus of 114, but has been a middle infielder. He's got good speed. He's got a pretty good arm. Let's see, his contract right now, he's getting paid $2.625 million. He's got a couple of years left of control. Be a free agent in 2027. The Marlins probably just want arms because they're just getting so many injuries, and it's just been kind of crushing their ability to produce overall.
Yeah, they went from having an abundance of pitchers to, lacking really quick.
And I also feel like Chisholm's mentioned publicly issues that he's had with other players on the organization, like on the team in the past. I forget exactly who the player was, but I remember hearing something when we faced them at the beginning of the season. So, I mean, honestly, Chisholm's the one where I'm like least high. I feel like he's obviously an upgrade. You like have him even as a tandem with Michael A. Taylor, or just have him playing full time and Taylor is sometimes the spot starter. I think that'd be really great.
I mean, the nice thing with him is his versatility. So if you did have a game where you wanted to have Taylor or Sawinski in the outfield, Chisholm could play second base for that game.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't think defensively poor. I don't think that he's going to give like Triolo type defense, because Triolo is one of the better infield defenders in the league, but you would hope that he would give better offensive production than Triolo. he's just been so bad with the bat lately.
Yeah.
So some of the guys who I think would probably be a bit of a higher reach, but I'm going more on like the older, like these guys are getting closer to expiring contracts. Kyle Tucker. The Astros have been winning a little bit more lately, but Tucker's only got another year left on his contract after this. And dude is having, again, super long shot. So I'm starting off with my biggest long shot. MVP type season. If I didn't pick first overall in my fantasy draft, I would have picked Tucker. So I go and pick Acuna and then immediately regret it. I should have just immediately traded for Tucker. Because right now, he's got a 266, 395, 584 slash line, 19 home runs, 42 runs, 40 RBI, 10 stolen bases. He's got more walks than strikeouts. Him and Soto are the only ones who can make that boast. And like he's a corner outfielder, so he's not giving you that center field versatility that we're probably looking for. But I'm okay with that because of what you're replacing. And that's a big hole in right field. Like Olivares sometimes gets hit and sometimes he swings at the first pitch and fouls out to first. Tucker, I think, is a super long shot, but I feel like I've probably talked about him to you countless times on how much that's my pipe dream to bring him to PNC.
Tucker might be more likely than Green or Blade.
Just given of where he is, and if the Astros do, I'm not going to say a rebuild, but they say, okay, we've got a piece, we can sell this.
They can do like a soft rebuild, because I've heard rumors that they might be their potential for them to move Bregman because he's in his last year, and I don't know what kind of contract he's looking for.
Yeah, if they don't think they're going to make playoffs, which they could, I don't think it's that long of a shot. They're currently 38-40. They're 4 games back. It's not impossible, but man, the Mariners just have a chokehold on that division right now.
Yeah,
They just seem like they're in control. Another one I was thinking of, we mentioned before, the Mets, maybe if they fall out a bit further. Brandon Nimmo. I want to check to see how much longer he has control. Again, he's on the older side. It's a bit more of an expensive contract. Oh, actually, that's a super expensive contract.
Didn't he just resign?
He just resigned 2 years ago.
Okay.
So he's got a $162 million 8-year contract. So that seems very unlikely that Pirates would go for that. Unless they completely renegotiate that to be like a 3-year deal.
I mean, unless you convince the Mets to send some money over with them.
A whole bunch of money where they'd be able to just like a Rockies Arenado sort of deal. But the thing is, like, Nimmo is still productive. 244, 358, 421 slash line, 129 WRC plus. He's 31. I think he still plays center field for some reason. Yeah, he's at 12 games in center field this year. So, potentially serviceable. That would be a contract they'd be looking to offload. But I don't know if that's the one that the Pirates would want to take on. But that would be interesting. And then
I feel like the Mets probably want arms in return too.
Probably, yeah. And then the other one that I was looking at, and let me check into this, probably not as likely, but I've seen this name kind of tossed about a bit, is Gavin Sheets from the White Sox. He's 28. He's pre-arbitration. He's corner outfielder, first base, but left-handed hitter. He's only a little bit on the positive side, 233, 333, 396 slash line, a 110 WRC plus. I think you'd be able to perform a little bit better at PNC, given that like Clemente Wall just kind of pepper some doubles off of it. He's got decent stuff. Potential that he'd be able to, and he's pre-arb, so a couple years left. Free agent in 2028.
Yeah, so you're getting a few years out of him.
Yeah, I was also looking at like Taylor Ward. I think Craig Toth of Bucks in the Basement mentioned him recently, and I was like, oh yeah, because he's someone who I've also seen kind of get a rise this season. He's fallen off a bit lately, but
I feel
it feels
like
like
talked
the
about
Angels,
him for the past like 2 or 3 years.
him and Joe Adell. The Angels have these outfielders, and then they just mess them up. I don't know how Trout managed to get through, but they just can't keep these guys consistent, can't keep them healthy. Maybe that's where they get Trout, but
That's what they traded Marsh away. I did not understand that when that happened.
Well, they got Mickey Moniak out of it. Moniak,
Yeah, I don't care.
I don't know how good he's doing right now, but I'm not going to follow the Angels. Sorry, Angels fans, but like, sorry.
I doubt they're listening.
You're right. Yeah, Ward right now, 240, 324, 421 slash. He's got a 1.1 WAR, which I think is like 4th on the team. Yeah. So not bad. Would be an improvement over a number of. You're basically saying, okay, who would be better than Sawinski? And there's a long list. It just who can we get and then make them work.
Yes.
Because ideally, Sawinski just remembers how to hit. Swat a couple home runs, get on base, don't look at strike three right down the middle, like 3 times a game. It's just.
And then watch the replay and spit.
It's just too much. So, again, we got 5 weeks until the trade deadline. A lot can happen between now and then. We might completely fall out of contention, but
or a lot more teams can also fall out and open up more possibilities of guys you can trade for.
Exactly. With this rotation, you really got to take advantage. Passan, I think, was on Talking Baseball last week, and he mentioned how Pirates are like the biggest underdog team right now because the rotation's so good. If they just add a couple bats, they can be really dangerous. And like the rotation's the hard part. We did the hard part. You just get a couple bats, score more than 1 run a game, and you've got a chance.
Yeah, Smoltz is really high on the rotation. I mean, there's a couple of guys that have talked about it that have said, if there's one team that can sneak in that no one will want to face, it would be the Pirates.
100%. You really just need 3 starting pitchers in the playoffs. And we've got 4, and we've got some more, like, pretty good bullpen, really good back end of the bullpen. Baracki's hopefully going to be healthy soon. We're going to have Gonzalez, Perez, Priester as, like, backups who can do long relief. Like, you just never know. But we just got to, I guess, make those trades and get a couple hitters. And then keep them away
maybe we might not have Priester if one of these trades happens.
Maybe. You never know. All right, well, let's look ahead. We got a week where we're heading on the road to see some red because we got 3 games in Cincinnati against the Reds, and then we travel down to Atlanta for a 3-game set against the Braves. Starting off in that Red series Monday, we've got Bailey Falter against Carson Spires, who we saw last week. Mitch Keller rematch against Hunter Green. And then TBD against Southpaw Andrew Abbott. It's likely going to be a bullpen game on that Wednesday one. Ed, we did pretty well against these guys last week. What are your thoughts with this rematch, but now taking place in Cincinnati?
Well, that makes a smaller ballpark. I think probably more potential for some home runs.
Yeah,
I'm getting pretty tired of the bullpen games because they're just. I mean, for one, obviously they deplete the bullpen, and then when you need them later on in the week, half the guys aren't available.
I know.
So I think with 2 legitimate starters starting, I think we could take 2 or 3.
I'm hoping that we can take 2 of 3. Green was really good. Spires has been better at home than away. 2.20 ERA at home versus that 5 ERA away. Even like he showed some really good stuff. It was 6 great starting pitching performances in that series. I'm hoping for 2 of 3. Really depends on how that bullpen game turns out because I think it'll probably be the rubber match of that series. We got the day off for the 27th, Thursday, traveling down to Atlanta. Jared Jones projected to go against Southpaw Max Fried. For Friday, Paul Skeens against Spencer Schwellenbach on Saturday, and then Bailey Falter versus Ronaldo Lopez on Sunday. Lopez is having a really strong
Lopez has
year.
been really good. I think he has a sub-2 ERA.
It's got to be around there. I definitely keep seeing highlights of him on the social media. And the Braves have been like underperforming, like crazy underperforming, where you feel like at any point in time, they're going to go put up like 10, 15 runs, like 3 games in a row. You really got to hope that's not in this series.
It's very possible.
Jones and Skeens going. But you also never know. Thoughts, predictions for that game? Series.
Positive thought is we're avoiding Chris Sale because he's been lights out so far this year.
He's been really good.
Man. Fried, he's been pitching a lot better. We mentioned Lopez has been doing really well.
Yeah, Fried in he's got 3 ERA, 1.07 WHIP in 90 innings so far.
Yeah. I'd like to say that the Pirates win 2, but I'm leaning more towards just one game.
I'm also thinking 1 of 3. I feel like Lopez as of right now 1.57 ERA, 74.1 innings. Crazy. Wow.
Yeah.
Wasn't he in the bullpen for the White Sox last year?
I don't remember. He may have been.
And then he bounced around, and now how the turntables have turned. Yeah, I'm predicting we go 1 and 2 on that. I think that Jones can match up with Fried, and Skeens should do well against Schwellenbach. However, I don't know that our offense is going to do enough in any of those games unless something changes. And, who knows? Maybe Davis comes back and he remembers that he was a 1-1 and should be hitting.
I mean,
Maybe
they've surprised us in the past against the Braves. So,
they have. Did we already play them this season?
yes, I believe we took 2 of 3. We won the first 2 and lost the third game.
We did. Yeah. 11-5, 4-1, and then 1-8.
Did Sale pitch the game
May.
that they won?
Yes. Yes, he did. Yeah, that was the game where Acuna got injured. And Sale went 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 8 strikeouts. So we don't have that this time. There we go.
There we go.
We're going to go 3-0. Guaranteed. What are you feeling about where the team is right now? Because after going 3-3 this past week, 37-40, I think we're a game and a half out of the wild card technically, which end of June is not really yet the time to be standings watching. But at the same time, it's something you got to keep in mind. It's not out of reach, but it's not something where it's sustainable. Eventually, a couple of teams are going to do well enough that you got to kind of make a move and keep up with it. Like, do you think this team is in a position where even before they add, they should be keeping pace with the wild card? Or do you think if they don't do something immediately, if something doesn't happen, other teams are going to pass them by?
No, I think they can keep pace. I think they should probably have 5 or 6 more wins than what they do. I mean, a lot of that falls upon injuries and stuff like that, which every team's going to deal with, and some poor managerial decisions. But I think they're right in the thick of it. I'm not concerned about them dropping off.
They have had a number of losses by 1 run. They're 14-12 in 1-run games, but you also feel like they should be doing better. There shouldn't be so many 1-run games because they're like 1-0 or 2-1.
Yeah.
Where just score a couple runs. It's not 18-17 where it's like, oh, if only the pitching was better.
That's the thing. You look
scores.
at the one stat of them being 14-12, and you're like, oh, they're winning that battle. And then, like you said, if you take a broader look, said most of those were 2-1 or 1-0 games, which unacceptable.
Hopefully they're going to improve, and hopefully we're going to be talking next week because we'll be back next week. We're not going to skip again unless we give notice about having our 6-0 week and getting a prolonged winning streak. The team really needs to get something going. But that wraps it up for all of us here at the 412 Double Play podcast. You can follow me on X at 412 Double Play, Ed at _Wassel. Continue listening to the show, Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, wherever else podcasts can be found. Subscribe to get notified when we drop our new episodes. Check out the articles at steelcity.com, previews of the Pirates' opponents starting pitching, noon on game days for that starter spotlight. Links in the description. Check that out. Appreciate everybody commenting, liking, just reading it. I've got this one frequent follower, Zach, who just recently went back and commented on all of them. And I didn't respond to each of them, but Zach, if you listen, reading, whatever, Appreciate it. Appreciate the reading. Appreciate the interactions and having you back in there. But as always, thank you for checking out the show from all of us here at the 412 Double Play Podcast. Thank you for joining us this week, and let's go Bucks.
Let's go Bucks.
Take it away, Sawyer.
Lady Jolly Roger, dude.
See ya.